Welcome everybody to the Elite Resource Team recording. We're recording an interview with Rick Martinez. My name is Ken Smith. I'm one of the co-founders of Elite Resource Team. So Rick, welcome. Welcome to the call.
I appreciate it, Ken.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about your background so I have a little bit better understanding of, where you've been, where you've come from, and where you're at this point.
Yeah, no worries. I spent about 18 years of my life in corporate America, kind of on the account manager side, and then about 9 years ago, kind of went off on my own, got an insurance license. I thought it would be a real easy gig, just basically, sales, but it was a little bit more difficult, selling to friends, family, doing seminars, a lot of high dollar stuff that really didn't produce too much in results. We even did during that time a CPA conference where we had 80 CPAs in the room, and I think we got one sizable deal out of it, but no relationships. And I think because there's no real process involved at the time. And then that's kind of when I met you guys.
Yeah. So, well, what made you decide to get involved with the Arty?
Well, you know what? Luckily, I've had a mentor that, I watched have meetings with clients that were referred in by CPAs, and there was never any questions about his credentials or past performance. It was basically just a real professional meeting, and they went smoothly. There was never any kind of rebuttal about let's talk to my CPA. And so I thought, how do we formalize that? Well, he had kind of been in a couple of programs, but there was a lot of challenges with those programs from either cost or just didn't fit his personality. And then we met another advisor and said, hey, you got to check these guys out. It seems like a real good program that they're launching. And so that's kind of how we found you, through another advisor.
Okay. So, well, I guess I'd ask you, what have you kind of learned about the CPA team-based model, the Elite Resource Team, and how do you feel like it's been a little bit different maybe from other programs you might have looked at? I heard you reference that earlier.
Yeah, I think, the one thing that the evolution that you guys have taken, it's not, I've been with a lot of organizations, and it's basically the way it looks today is the way it's going to look in 10 years. And, you guys have constantly evolved. Where I didn't realize the value is that having a community with you guys, having a community of other advisors that kind of have gone through the same challenges. The other thing I didn't realize was, that we could actually make money in forming partnerships with people. I always thought it was like me against other advisors, but that's not the case. We all have strengths, and if we utilize those strengths, hence the elite team in the word team, right? So that's kind of, I think, the biggest differentiator is that it's a community. You guys are consistently evolving and trying to make sure that new resources come to the table, because I think what I've seen between you and Anton is you realize that one size doesn't fit all. And I think most organizations, as they get bigger, one size fits all. And if you don't fit that mold, oh well, And when do we find that out is when we've already paid our fees and we've already gone through all kinds of training, and we're like, wow, this doesn't really fit. So for you guys just keep bringing more and more tools to the table, and some of them may work for me, some may not. And that's okay, but it's not one size fits all.
Yeah, that sounds good, Rick. So let me ask you this question. Thinking about what you've done so far and thinking about your experience, what do you feel, is there things that you would have done differently knowing what you know now? In other words, maybe you could help educate the listeners a little bit about some of the things they could do differently coming in, having the experience that you do at this point.
I tell you what, all the things that I've gone through obviously have kind of molded me. So, if it had been easy out of the gate, probably I wouldn't appreciate it as much. But with that being said, one thing that I had the aha moment with you guys was that I thought working with CPAs is going to be very intimidating. They're going to be teaching me constantly. They were going to, be the brain trust, but actually it's the opposite, which shocked me. I've probably been in 100 to 125 CPA offices. I'm still looking. I do have some pretty nice relationships, but that's still, you never know how they go at the end. But the one thing that just really I can't even today fathom that I'm actually teaching them. If they want to be in this side of the business, but their clients are demanding it whether they admit to it or not. Most of them admit that they're not, but you know what? Those are probably CPAs that you don't want to work with anyways. Mm-hmm. So I would say that was one of the biggest things that I kind of saw quickly. I wish I'd known that to begin with, because I would have probably dove in a year earlier. One of your institutes, I thought, you know what, after I leave here, I'm really going to do this. And I really did. And that's when it started to change for me. And it wasn't quick, but it did start to change. So that's what I would say, is that, you just got to kind of dive in and do it, but no regrets. I mean, the road that I had, it was rough, but it's what it was.
So let me ask you this. You mentioned that you have kind of found yourself in a position of almost teaching CPAs things here and there. What do you feel like qualified you to where you were able to do that? I mean,
go ahead.
Well, did it take, some of the people listening might think to themselves, teaching CPAs, I don't even really understand a whole lot about the financial services industry, or I'm limited, and how could I get to a level where I'm actually teaching them?
I think, just like this week, we're going to, new advisors going into your program, but we're showing up. You guys always invite us to anything that you put on, and we make it a point to go. We make it a point to be on your weekly calls. We make it a point to engage with the resources before, during, and after a sale. And all that's just an education process, and that's really the value that you bring to the CPA. CPA really doesn't have time to do that. As you sift things out and kind of explain to them from a high level what this will do for a client, that's when they start to get their aha moment. Where my CPAs have had their aha moment is actually at your trainings, at the Elite Academy, the Institute. Not only from a relationship perspective, we're spending 3 days together, but also from, I understand what this model is about. It's not about referring. This is about partnering. And so if you're going to engage in this, you really got to go deep and commit to going to this training. No matter if you've heard the same thing 30 times. Every time, I think the first time that I engaged with a CPA, I probably listened to your first meeting video in my own words. I had recorded. I probably listened to it about 100 times before I went in. So I kind of understood where I was at from what the CPA was telling me.
You're talking about the scripting, for the meetings.
Yeah. And again, it didn't go exactly like that, and that's okay, but I knew exactly where I was at during the process each and every time that we spoke. And I knew where I needed to take them, or I knew where I needed to kind of walk away from the situation, because it really wasn't going anywhere. So that was very helpful. But again, engaging in the resources that you guys provide, that's the end all be all.
One of the meetings that you were actually in, I think a year and a half ago, Rick, I remember you making the comment that you had tried it different ways, and then you decided to go back and do it the way we had told you to, and that seemed to have a profound effect.
No, it really does. Again, because it's process, and we like to deviate from process for whatever reason, because we think there's a shortcut. Fortunate for us, there is no shortcut, because I'll tell you what, if you dedicate yourself to this model and you go the distance with it, you're going to see the benefits of it. If you don't, in which most people are going to fall off the wagon, so that's where my advantage comes in, is that, it didn't happen quick enough for them. This happened quick, this probably wouldn't be of value. There'd be 1 million of us out there. Because this doesn't happen quick, I love that. Because it's only the ones that really can persevere through it and use the resources the way they're intended to be used.
Excellent, excellent. Well, so tell me, give me an idea of what are some of the cases you're working on now with the model, and what do you feel like this will do for your future production as well?
You guys have brought, I mean, a tremendous amount of resources, and I think the one that really took it over the top was, the business consulting angle with Hayden Rock. Some of the deals that we're working on, this is just right now. It's a purchase of an MLB team that they don't want to tell me who it is, which is fine because we're still in the infancy. But really, what we're looking at revenues of between 2 of the 7 partners, about 16 million for the next 3 years for sure. So they're trying to mitigate that tax in different ways. There's another one that's a sale of it's a divorce, $70 million business, and they're actually brokering it through a business broker. I think we're still in the infancy. We're probably about a year out, I'm guessing, but one of the halves actually came to us, meaning me and my CPA partner, and asked us, what would we do?
How promising? How promising does that look?
I got to tell you, well, we actually have a common resource that the husband's working from. So we couldn't use that resource, but because you guys have so many resources, we're able to bring another, resource to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Any other time we would probably been dead in that scenario. But because the husband's been in tax mitigation and the wife understands some of it, I think it has a high probability. The only challenge I would say is that the wife doesn't really have a lot of business sense, but we'll see what happens. Some of the ones that just come in every day that I never realized, we have a case right now, $1 million windfall happened to them, and the lady makes $450 a year, but she didn't feel like the taxes she was paying was too much until she had the $1 million windfall. Now she's in the office, we're doing tax planning. I think we charged her $13,000. She saw the value in it. And then when she left, this is how big I think this process is. She said, you have another client that I work with to the CPA. Why haven't you talked to him? And he didn't realize that this was a client that worked at the same place that had the same problem. So we're walking into 2 of these deals now. And the other part of it was, coming in the financial advisor door probably would never happen. With this case, they actually said, well, are you guys going to do my financial advising for me too? Which was kind of funny to hear, and so we had to actually back her off and say, let's look at fixing this tax problem first, and then let's come through that door. And it was kind of more relief, I think, where, they had to ask the question, but they didn't ready for that. I said, let's see how this relationship goes, and then we'll kind of move that area. So that was kind of a different approach, especially when you're a financial advisor and they say they want you to look at their financial accounts. I mean, you're all over it, right? Well, this one we had to back her off, but I think it really built the relationship a lot better because we were able to do that.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we've seen a lot over the years, Rick, is that a lot of times when you solve the CPA's clients' problems, and that might be income tax mitigation, and this is normally for the business owner, income tax mitigation, expense mitigation, or risk management, a lot of times what comes along for the ride are going to be the more simplistic financial planning objectives. And, they want to do that with the team that is you and the CPA that they feel most comfortable with, the most trusted advisor.
I totally agree. And I think that the kind of money she made and the kind of money that she had saved, I don't think she's done a real great job with it. But because we're going to go down this tax mitigation route, I think we're going to triple what she saved in the next 5 years. And I mean, those are things that just gave her the aha. So she's going through our financial planning process. I don't know where it'll take us, but we kind of included it with that large fee that we charged her, which is fine. But really, the fee was something that kind of held her to the fire. She wants something for that fee now, right? So, but yeah, just a different meeting, where you're really a professional resource and advisor and not a salesperson.
Yeah. So it sounds like you've had a pretty dramatic life transformation over the years, and it sounds like you're actually pretty pleased with that. Thinking about people that are listening to you, they're thinking about, you know, whether to get into the model or not, whether to make the commitment, the choice to have their life changed and transformed. What are some of the things that you would say if you knew back then what you know now?
You know, I got into this industry because I did want to, you know, obviously you always want to do right by customers, but I wanted to build an account base that just kept giving and kept giving at you know, huge dollars. And that just wasn't happening. I wanted to be consistent. That wasn't happening. If those are the biggest challenge and most advisors, that's what they are. They don't, you know, the marketing is the challenge. It's going to be constantly evolving. It's going to constantly cost you a ton of money. If that's the challenges that you have, this is something to really look into. It comes down to desire, just like everything. You know, if this is something you want, you know, and like you guys say, you don't just kind of quit what you were doing. I kind of did, I will tell you. And that was probably not the smartest thing, but, you know, don't quit what you're doing, but spend a good portion of your time on this and figure out, how do I get these relationships? And there's so many ways to get the relationships, and you guys have great suggestions in it. And I think a lot of times we just think, oh, that's beyond me. Oh, that's beyond me. You know, the CPA is an unapproachable resource. Oh, they're so not. You just haven't gotten the right one. That's all it's been. You haven't been in front of the right one. The ones that are saying no, it's because they are comfortable with what they're doing. They like compliance work, and they like 1 million clients. That's just what they want to do. They want to work to death. That's just them. But then there's other ones that want quality of life, want to make great for their family and themselves, and do the best thing for their clients and get referrals of that same nature. When you find that guy, then you have something real special. And it'll take a while.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, that sounds really good, Rick. Let me ask you this. Have you yourself had any experience with any other types of model, whether it be through yourself directly or other people? And if so, why would you choose ERT over any other program?
So we actually did have, and I bet you a lot of advisors were actually exposed to it, and I forgot the FMO that had it, but they basically would bring out an expert speaker. They give you, they give the CPAs 4 CPE credits, and the gist of it was talking a little bit on 4 topics. One of them was life insurance, one was annuities, and I don't remember the other 2. But successful in the fact that we got about 80 CPAs in the room on 2 occasions. So we got 60 on one occasion, 20 on the other. The problem is we had no process, right? So we were coming at it from a financial advisor perspective. I think we spent about $10,000 on that event, and we were excited as can be, and we just didn't know what to do, right? So what you guys have given us, because we're going to probably do this again, is what we're planning right now. We have a process now. You know, we were taking them down the financial planning route, and they probably either seen that or just really felt that was, you know, would scare their clients off. All kinds of things go on in their head. So we don't even have to approach that. We approach it from a business advisory role. You're completely different than a financial advisor to them. And they even treat you different. You know, I have been asked many times, how you a financial advisor? So I'm licensed to be one. You know, if that's what you need me to be, I will. But really what I'm giving you access to is a team of experts to solve your clients' problems and to drive revenue for your firm. You know, and that kind of changes the scenario. You know, I'm not trying to get your clients so I could, you know, put them on my AUM platform. That's not what my main goal is. But it comes. So hopefully that answers what you asked.
Yeah, sure. So let me ask you one final question, Rick. What would you say to someone that is trying to decide whether to maybe try to go out and do it on their own, or follow the elite resource team-based model, what would you say to that individual?
It's kind of one of those things where, do we have enough time in a day to put all hats on? You got to rely on experts in different areas to make your business hum, even if, just like a business owner would. You're not, maybe initially you are, but you're not running the HR department, you're not doing the accounting, you're not doing all that. You just can't. This is the same aspect to me. I mean, you guys have a great community of several advisors that play in the stand real well. I like a lot of them. So we kind of bounce ideas, what's working here, what's not working. And then the constant new resources that come to the table. I didn't realize how much the last relationship that you guys brought to the table would change my life. But I had been working with a CPA for about 2.5 years, and just kind of more talk, and you could tell he was excited about the model. He had been to one of your events and the whole bit. When I brought him the latest resource, things changed for him. He all of a sudden was literally getting rid of, I think he said like 250 clients. He goes, I don't know, I'm going to try to get rid of these somehow. He goes, I only want to focus on my 100 business clients and how to grow that. And the only way I'm going to do is through this business advisory platform. When that happened, I was in front of 2 clients that quickly. And now he actually has one of them going through the business advisory platform as we speak. The initial questionnaire is going through right now. And so that's really the biggest difference about, do I do it on my own? Why would I do that if I have you guys as well as probably 200 advisors that are bringing stuff to the table that can help me do that?
Yeah.
There's just no way you could do that by yourself. You might be able to, because I've run into a lot of advisors, especially like on LinkedIn, and they probably have 1 or 2 resources or strategies that they use, but they're not holistic, and what are you going to do when it doesn't fit that mold? You need to have other ideas and other resources, and that's really what you guys do, is bring that to the table for us.
Yeah, that's good, Rick. Well, I'll tell you, Rick, I want to thank you today for sharing a few of your minutes with us and kind of going over and talking about your experience and what this has meant to you. And I'm very, very proud of the transformation that you've made. And, you're an example to people as to what this can actually do for a person. So I want to thank you for joining us today. And I want to thank you, too, as a listener. And I hope this has been helpful for everyone. So thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Ken, for everything you do.